Hello and welcome back to day 5 of the 100 Days of Making Comics challenge. So I have quite a few things to talk about. I probably won't even get to a few of them, but that's fine because some of them are going to touch on topics that I will dive more deeply into on tomorrow's video. And so let's just start. The first one is probably the most obvious one, which is that I sound different, and it's because I changed the way that I record these voiceovers, so hopefully it sounds louder, and also there's less background static, and overall the quality of the recordings are just better. So yeah, so let's actually get into talking about what I am drawing right now, which is another full body of Tori, my main character. But the purpose of this drawing was to get an idea for how I was going to ink not just her, but also the comic as a whole. So this video and tomorrow's video are going to be about the aesthetic, the style, I guess, the art style of the comic. Today is going to be about, inking and shadows and stuff, but tomorrow is going to be about color palette as well. And they are both going to be on me doing this drawing, because this video took a this video was recorded over the course of 2 days, because her pose, her arms, they took me fucking, oh my god. I don't know what it was about her arms, but I wasn't satisfied with how any of it was turning out. And so by the end of the first drawing session for this, I didn't even draw her left arm. I put my drawing pen down and I gave up, and I did not draw her left arm, and I said, that's a problem for tomorrow me. And I was right. It was a problem for tomorrow me. But tomorrow me did go into it with a fresh eyes, because by the time I got to her arms and trying to draw and solidify the pose for that on day 1, I did not have fresh eyes. I was tired. It was like 8 p.m. So I saved that for the next day. And this video is day 1 and then like half of day 2 of drawing it, and tomorrow's video is the second half of day 2. So that's the time frame. And I do these videos in advance. I record them and then I do the voiceovers for them and stuff about 5 days before they're actually posted. And this is the reason, because even though I did get 2 videos out of this 2-day process, I very well could have not. I could have just had day 1 be a total failure and not have gotten any worthwhile footage out of it. And that'll probably happen again in the future, but that is, an eventuality that I planned for. So I do record these in advance, just so I have a cushion and I don't have to, compromise my posting schedule for these videos just because I didn't finish a drawing within a day, which is what I usually do. So I have a couple other things. I have a lot of these written down, so let's see. So let's talk about her arm, her arms, her pose, the freaking perspective of her arms. At the beginning of drawing her, at the beginning of this video, I did draw her arms with the intention of drawing also her jacket that you saw in the very first 100 days video. And I gave up basically immediately. I was like, this drawing just isn't gonna have her jacket. So I knew in my artist's mind, even though I didn't draw it in the first video, I knew that she was gonna have a sleeveless tank top underneath her jacket, so I just drew that. And so her arms are bare, which means that I can actually take the time to draw her muscles how I envisioned it, because in the first drawing, she's wearing a jacket, so it's kind of hard to see that she's actually kind of buff. And I explained that I wanted her to be buff because her magical tool is her shovel, and she swings that around a lot to defend herself from angry ghosts. And so I figured she'd, be pretty buff from that. So thankfully I got to draw that in this video. But the perspective of her left arm and the hand of her right hand killed me. And this is why it took me so long to just do the rough sketch of her in the beginning, in the first day. So I also am considering not giving her a jacket anyways. That's up in the air, because I was looking back on the concepts for Tori and Thea, and they both of their, first off, I didn't even realize it, but they both have their hands tucked into their pockets, which I think is funny, but also that they're both wearing long sleeves, long baggy tops, long sleeve baggy tops, that's how it is. And they both kind of have cuffs. So I don't want their clothing designs to be too similar like that, because that is a pitfall that sometimes I fall into, is that when I draw clothes, because I don't wear a variety of styles of clothes. My shirts are usually either a jacket, a sweater, or a t-shirt, maybe a tank top. And that's basically all I wear. So I know that I can get into a little bit of same face syndrome, but with clothes. So I'm thinking of just not having Tori wear a jacket at all. And what else? Oh, okay. So, this is, I think, the first writing update. Maybe? Anyways, but a writing update. I have finished writing the rough draft of chapter 1, scripting that and just getting the general dialogue and stuff down. And I've actually moved on to chapter 2 already, but today's Monday. On Wednesday, hopefully I'm going to start doing chapter 1 revisions, wherein I go and clean up the dialogue, make sure that it's exactly how I want it, make sure it sounds natural. And this is in preparation for, by the end of the week on Sunday-ish, I will have chapter 1 ready for thumbnailing, which is exciting. Obviously, as I'm revising chapter 1, I'm still doing chapter 2, and then next week I will be doing chapter 2 revising, stuff like that. So, I will be doing, preliminary thumbnailing where I section out the dialogue into pages and then section those pages. Well, I will be sectioning out scenes into pages and then sectioning out the dialogue within those pages into like panels. And then that will help me when I do the actual thumbnailing part where I draw what the page layout is going to be. And so I am tentatively saying by day like 11 I will have chapter 1 ready to go to start the long thumbnailing process. So that's writing update, I think, number 1. I can't remember what I say in any of the previous videos, so sorry about that. So now I'm going to talk about what this video is kind of actually about, which is the inking of the sketch. And this drawing was for me to figure out which pen I wanted to use and how I was going to ink the comic, because art style should be a conscious choice. Like, obviously there are some things I can't help because they're just ingrained in how I draw, and I have preferences for the way I like things as well, but choices such as the pen that I use and the way that I handle shadows is like the first step in creating the tone of the comic. And next video is going to dive more deeply into the like color palette and how I will be handling the coloring of the comic, because that's the second half of figuring out the art style, and coloring is also another really important method of conveying tone. So this genre of comic is urban fantasy mystery, and so I want the comic to feel kind of gritty in a sense. I don't know, maybe you'll be able to see it when I do close-ups on the inking, but the pen that I use is very textured. I chose like an ink pen kind of tool that's meant to mimic analog inking, and I want it to be like a textured pen so that the drawing doesn't look too clean, because my goal for the style is to look like a Western like graphic novel that you would find in a comic book store, kind of mid-century comics, like superhero comics, that style of art. I like that, and I think that going for a more Western graphic novel design is smart when thinking about like how my comic is going to look, because even though I do draw inspiration from manga and anime, my style is not anime enough for the aesthetic of anime to work with it in my comic. because I draw especially my faces and my shadows much too realistic for that to work. So doing like a gritty aesthetic is much better. I feel like that didn't even make any sense. But yeah, there are some things about how I inked her, because this is like a test, so I'm not too like worried about it looking bad. It looking bad just shows me, you know, what not to do in the future, but I don't like how some of the shadows came out, because I didn't want them to be hard shadows, but I do want the shadows to be part of the inks, so they will be technically black. They will be blacks. The term for it is blacks, but it isn't black ink, because I don't think black ink looks good in colored drawings, simply because it flattens it, because black isn't a color, it's a shade. So next video is where I mess with the color balance of the line art to make it like a really dark blue, but right now I'm just drawing in black. And so the shadows are going to be part of the inks, and so it's important for them to look good because they are the darkest part of any drawing. And some of the shadows, like within her pants, where her crotch seam is, and her arm, her left arm, I don't like how it looks. It's too what's the word, like dirty. I don't think dirty really is what I mean, but that's like kind of the direction that I mean. It looks gross. And so I will probably do more of a hard line for certain areas of the drawings in the future, because as much as I want to do like a feathery shadow look to it, I don't think it looks good in certain areas, like her clothes and her arms. I don't know, I just gotta be careful with how I do the feathering for the shadows. And yeah, that's all I have to say. Next video, I will go into the coloring and color palette choices for the art style. It'll be the second half of the second day of me working on this drawing. So it will be the same drawing, just the second half of the process of making it. Anyways, you'll see tomorrow, or if you're watching this in the future, then you can just click on that video after this one. Oh my god. I'm gonna stop talking. You know what I mean, okay? Goodbye. Thank you for watching. Bye.